Our guest tonight is a man of many talents, many. He's an actor, musician, life coach, and writer. Right now, Anthony, he has a short film currently in the Los Angeles LGBTQ plus film festival. You might know him as Billy from School of Rock, but I know him as one of my favorite people in the radio trenches when we were together at WPLJ. Please welcome Brian Falduto to the show. Hi, Brian.
Hi, Cooper. It's been way too long.
I know. So wait a second. When you and I were at PLJ together, had they scared Scott away yet, or was he still there? When did you leave?
I joined right during the exit strategy, essentially. Like, it was when I came on board, and it was not my fault. You
scared him away.
Scott leaves and Brian shows up. I didn't make that connection till just now. Mm-hmm.
No, but Cooper, it's been so long since we've chatted that I actually was wondering if you remembered that I worked at PLJ, because I was just interning when I first started there, and then I slowly worked my way up. But I'm so happy you remember me.
Are you kidding? You were my favorite person there. You don't understand. So when you got there, it was there's a reason why that show didn't last very long. I think I'm going to say 8 months, but I might be giving it too much credit. So after Scott Shannon left, it was just it was a disaster. Mm-hmm. And I had one friend, Sheila. So when I met you, I was like, oh, thank God, another yummy person. So every time we had any kind of promotion thing or whatever, you saw I cling to you. I was like, oh, thank God Brian's here. Because there was so much tension all the time. It was the most stressful. It went from being this lovely place. We had so much fun when it was just Scott and Todd and Monk and I, and we were doing Dish Nation, and we had so much fun.
I grew up listening to that. Yeah.
Yeah. Them, not me, because I'm a wee thing.
No, you are a wee thing. Scott and Todd, though. But yeah, I grew up, and then and it's so funny you say that, because that was my first job out of college, so I kind of just assumed that workplaces were toxic, and then I was like, not all work environments are like this. Okay, got it. Yeah,
I know, and you're right. You're a Jersey kid, so of course you listen to Scott and Todd.
Of course,
but see, and I feel so bad for that, because right before you got there, it was the most amazing. Every day I pinched myself. I was like, I can't believe I get to work here. And it was so much fun. And I was super tight with everybody there. I'm still friends with everybody there except for one person. I think you know who that is. But and it's, yeah, you do know. If you think about it, the one person that I don't
two people
talk to
there. Yeah,
I have some guesses, but
you're correct about those guesses. But I mean, even to this day, Scott Shannon has been my champion, and I had a job that he was very instrumental in my getting. He's always been my champion. So when he left, it was it was a weird environment. So I feel badly that you came into that, because that was your first experience with radio, and it's not like that. I mean, when I was at Z100, I'm still friends with everybody from Z100, and I haven't been there since I left in 2003. I want to say, so.
And I mean, we're still friends. I did make a bunch of long-lasting connections, and it did work out for me in a sense, because at that moment in time, also, PLJ had the birth of their sister station, Nash FM, which was sort of my that
was your beat.
It was my beat, but it was also a solidification that I knew I loved country music, but I didn't know how much I loved country music. And then working at that radio station for 3 years really solidified how much I love country music, and enough that I started to write it. So it kind of worked.
And that's the music you're doing now, is country music. People need to know that, because I think it's so unexpected, because Jersey kid, think about all the artists that came out of New Jersey, and being up in the tri-state area when they brought in Nash. It was all of these. It was all my friends in high school who came out of the closet as gay. It was all my friends who came out of the closet as into country.
Yeah, no, it's so funny. Everyone, and I guess what's funny now is I often start a lot of my shows with, "Hey, everybody, I'm a gay country singer from New Jersey." It's a thing, because no one's expecting that to be a thing, and then I'm like, "It's here I am."
Right. No, I think that's really cool. So, did you start doing? How'd you start doing music? Because, so you left school, you came to PLJ, you were around the radio scene, you got to know the folks at Nash, and you and you realized that country was your love.
Yeah.
So how did you go from that to, I want to write this stuff?
Yeah. So Well, I've always been like heavily integrated with music and performing and acting. I was a child actor. So, and then I went to school for musical theater. So music was always very much a part of my life. And I'm a singer. I've always been a singer. I didn't know that I wanted to write it. I think one of the reasons I fell in love with country music while I was at Nash is because I was actually going through a super tough breakup during those years also. And so it was my first gay relationship. And I think a lot of gay people can probably testify that that's really special to you and it means a lot. And losing that was really tough. And I actually found myself in a ton of country songs because there's so many country breakup songs. And I was like, oh, all these songs are really hitting the spot. But yet none of them were really speaking to me directly because there weren't any like homosexual storylines in country music yet. And so I was like, well, what if I put my story to some of these songs? And so that was kind of the birth of that concept. And it ended up just being a super therapeutic practice for me. And then I started sharing my songs and people are like, wait, these are kind of good. And I was like, oh, cool. So I'll just keep doing this, I guess.
So when TJ Osborne came out this year, you must have been like, hallelujah, because that was a big deal. And his music, if you really listen to it, it's just love songs. It's not gay or straight. It's just a love song that anybody can consume and relate to.
Love is love. Yes.
Right. Right.
Yeah. I like to think I was partly responsible for that because I've been covering Brothers Osborne at my shows for like 2 years now. And so I didn't even know that he was going to come out. And I was like, I've been playing his music at gay country shows. Maybe I just like, I kept sending the vibes that way,
That's pretty cool.
The one thing we have to go back to School of Rock. I mean, sure. That was such an iconic movie. To be a part of that movie, I mean, there's only so many iconic movies out there, and that is one of them. And to be a part of that at any age, I mean, how did you get that gig? How did you end up there? Did you read the script? I mean,
what was the process?
Yeah. And I'll agree with you. It's a constant re-realization kind of the impact of the film. Like every year I kind of have to be like, oh, people are still talking about the movie. It has sort of lived on in this amazing way. I was just a kid that really wanted attention. And I would sing the loudest in the children's choir. I at family functions, I demanded the family leave the dinner table to come watch me perform in the living room. One time my parents and I were at a hotel pool and I saw this man walk by with a camera and I just started following him and I was like, I want to be on the camera. And my mom came over to apologize for my behavior and he was like, nah, this kid's a star. And he gave my mom the contact of this manager back in New York. And we contacted her when we got back to New York. And then she sent me on my first audition and my second audition ever was School of Rock.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
So it gave me a massive misunderstanding of how the industry works. I was like, oh, this is easy.
What's the one memory that sticks out from that whole process?
Oh, wow. I mean,
so many iconic scenes you were part of. I mean, to see Jack Black be Jack Black back in that time.
Yeah, I think what sticks out is like how close we got as kids, which has kind of been really resonant lately. And not to bring up a sore subject, but we actually lost one of the kids last week. And so that's been tough. We all went through this really unparalleled, unique experience as 5th and 6th graders, essentially. Not everyone who's a 5th and 6th grader is in a major motion picture. So it was like this 4-month, we had these insanely long set days together. This bond that formed amongst us, sort of plucked out and told that we're special, and that our talents matter. And, it was kind of like this cool experience to have alongside people your age. And I just, to this day, all 14 of us have an active group text. That's how.
I love that.
Really?
Yes. Yeah. It's honestly annoying sometimes.
all group texts are annoying.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if it is the School of Rock group text. It's like, get me off of this text. But
Anthony and I were talking about that. Kevin Clark is your friend that you lost, who was part of School of Rock. And the weird thing was, so my nephew's name is Kevin Clark, and he had just recently made news because he fell off a building, which is a whole other story. But yeah, he's an idiot. He was climbing the building for some crazy.
Don't feel bad for him.
Don't feel bad for him because it was like
just in shock.
It was some crazy organization that he was working for, and his sister talked him into. It was some dumbass thing that he did. But he fell off a building. It made national news, and then like literally a couple of days later, your friend passed away, and they have the same name, Kevin Clark. So everybody was like, oh, they thought my nephew fell off the building and died.
And got hit by a car. Oh, yeah.
Or, no. Well, they didn't know how the death happened. They just had seen Kevin Clark and death, and they knew that Kevin Clark just like a week earlier had fallen off a building. So people were just making the connection and reaching out to us.
Oh no.
Yeah, and I was like, we texted. I was like, "Are you dead?" No. Okay. So then I Googled it, and then I realized, and I thought, "Oh my God, poor Brian," because I'm sure that this is somebody you were close with.
Yeah, and I think one of the weirdest things is like, I think a lot of people view like maybe their middle school class or like their high school class or maybe their Boy Scout group as like their origin story. But those 14 kids, they're my origin fam, and so to lose one of us is it really does hit a chord. It's yeah.
Right. No, sorry to bring up a sore subject, but along with Anthony's question, what is that like though, that every couple of years you have to address some School of Rock thing, like it's going to be a Broadway musical, and Jack Black said something about it, or Tenacious D is reperforming and they're going to do one of the songs. There's always something that comes up that is School of Rock, and then suddenly you have to deal with it all over again. Like what is that about?
I've learned to just embrace it and love it. I spent many a year, I think even while I was at PLJ a bit, being quite in denial and not really wanting to talk about it, trying to find my own, especially once I was out as like a gay man, because I spent so much time closeted after the film because people kept calling me gay after the film, and I was too young to sort of process that messaging. And so, I had a very toxic relationship with the movie for a while and its impact on me. Wow. I don't have that anymore. I'm a life coach, and I work primarily with gay men to help them love themselves and live in confidence. And I think that that character in that movie, all these years later, to get to speak about that means something to people who connected with it back then and who connect to what I'm doing now. So it serves a purpose for me now, and it also just it's definitely changed over the years. But I did have a hard time for a little while.
Listen, all the research of coming out talks about that the first person you come out to is yourself.
Yeah.
So if you're not comfortable coming out to yourself, regardless of what,
all the world is calling you the gay kid from School of Rock. It's
exactly, and you're like, who, me? What are you talking about? Right? No,
and back then, gay was an insult.
Right.
Yeah. So.
Which I'm so surprised because New Jersey seems so woke. It's the tri-state area. I figure like everybody's just like, yo, you're not gay. What's wrong with you?
No, but it was 2000. If you think about it, there was Will and Grace, there was Ellen, and then there was like little kid me. Right. there wasn't like a lot of representation.
It's a good point.
But I think now that movie is going to live forever on your phone, on your iPad, on this everywhere. In 30 years, that movie is still going to be around.
People are still discovering it. People that didn't, young kids like Gen Z now is like rediscovering it. So you're going to continue to be everybody's discovery. Like this is, it's something you're going to have to like really.
Well, Jack Black just
come to grips with.
Jack Black just did an interview and said that was his favorite movie to do. And, he's done a lot of movies and that is his favorite. And I agree. It was such a great movie. Everything about it. There wasn't one thing that you would change about that movie, and you were a part of it. That's just amazing.
Yeah, I'm very appreciative. Also, Jack is just the most phenomenal human ever. He's been so supportive these past several days after the loss of Kevin. And he's kept in contact with all of us over the years. He was one of the funders of my music video. And so I just want to give him a shout out for being just like an awesome, awesome human.
Wow. That's amazing all these years later. I love the fact that he still has a relationship with you. Because you would think like, I don't know. I just, I worked on a couple of television sets in my day, and I have a couple of people that I still kind of keep in touch with, like if I remember to on their birthday, but not the bonding experience that you guys had. And I wonder if it was just a special environment or maybe your age, maybe because you guys were all young experiencing this adult lifestyle for the first time, because it's very adult to have to be in, you got to show up on time, you got to know
10-hour work days.
Yeah, exactly.
I remember I got mono because a kid isn't a kid isn't supposed to be worked that hard. I think it speaks to the experience that we are all in touch the way that we are. And I think that actually probably translates to the impact it's had. I think that the amount of fun and the amount we connected, the amount of fun we had and the amount we connected on set, I think because of how authentic and real that was, and then it like translated to the actual product, that's probably part of why it's such a thing,
Right. That makes sense.
Yeah.
So tell me about being so is it you're a life coach, but you're a gay life coach? So is it gay because you're gay, or gay because you only have gay clients? Like, why gay life coach and not just life coach?
Girl, you know all about niche marketing. Come on.
Oh, that's a very good point. Yeah, I didn't think about that. Right.
Why can't it just be life coach?
Very clever. Yeah, everyone's a life coach. Gay life coach.
Do you know how many?
Yeah, you're the only one.
Do you know how many queer or LGBTQ or gay coaches are jealous that I managed to snatch the handle of the gay life coach on Instagram?
I'm sure. That's so funny.
Yeah, I mean, I work with a ton of clients from all different walks of life. I do work with primarily LGBTQIA plus folks. Actually, a lot of youth these days too. I'm working with, which is so fulfilling for me. But yeah, I think that people just connect with that aspect of my story, and that's sort of how they find me. But coaching isn't about me; it's about the client, and it's a very crafted process of me meeting someone where they're at and knowing how to help them find their own answers, which really has nothing to do with me or my story. So it's a really it's so funny because I feel like in order to sell myself as a coach, it has to do so much talking about my story, so much being the gay life coach, blah, 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 blah. And then when we get into the room, and actually like all that gets left at the door, Right.
And so what kinds of things? I mean, obviously I don't want you to tell me specifics about specific clients, but
well, Joe has a...
yeah. What's going on with Joe? Why is he seeing you?
But like what? So what kind of thing? I'm just kind of curious. So just to take it back, so this is why I'm asking you. So when I was getting my graduate degree, I was doing identity modeling, and I studied gay identity modeling. And cool. I thought it was really interesting, the different stages that people go through when they come out and they discover their own homosexuality, et cetera, et cetera. And, different based on ethnicity, different based on age, different based on,
What stage am I in?
I don't.
Oh, okay. You don't know.
It seems like you're fully actualized. It seems like you are just like embracing who you are, and
okay, great. Good to know.
Yeah, no, I think that's awesome. And, and my favorite thing is, Dan Savage talks about this a lot, and he says, and I don't know if you give this advice. I love this advice. He says, when you come out to a family who's like conservative and not that into it, you should give them a year to freak out, ask you stupid questions. And then when that year is up, accept it, or we're done.
Right. I like that. One of my advice with coming out often is focus on what you can control, because so much of the fear is about the things that you can't control, the reaction, the whether people are going to like it or accept it or not. But actually, how do you want to come out? What will you tolerate after you come out? How will you take care of yourself after you come out? Things that are in your control, rather than focusing on the what ifs of the other person.
Right. Oh, that's really good advice. You're good. I love that.
Recording in progress.
So what else? Because I feel like it's really kind of cool that it's, Pride Month. I just realized.
Pride.
Yeah, no, I think that's really awesome that you're doing this in general. But so if people are watching, or listening, what advice do you have for them if they are first coming out to themselves, whether it's, as, gender neutral or, asexual or pansexual or whatever their identity is forming? What's the first step somebody should take to kind of figure it out? And then who should they communicate with first?
Yeah, I think one of the things I didn't know growing up is that there are actually a ton of resources, especially these days. There's whether you're just getting your resources through representation or reaching out to an organization like the Trevor Project, or maybe working with a life coach or going to a therapist or finding a supportive friend or a counselor. I think once you start creating a tangible conversation about what's going on inside your head, it makes it all a little bit more real, sort of like the way that I sort of discovered aspects of my voice by songwriting. As soon as I said it to a lyric, I was like, oh, this is like a real thing that I'm feeling, and I'm going to share this with someone else. And it's like no longer just something that's eating away inside of me. And then if you don't have someone, there's other ways to do that. There's like, you can journal and like put it onto paper. And then it's not just circulating in your brain anymore, right? And it's not just like this thing that is, again, eating away at you. And then I think if I'm just going to add a little bit of advice to that, is that my advice doesn't matter. No one's advice matters. It's like,
right.
There's no right or wrong. I think that's one of the big things people trip on is once you're out of the closet, how am I supposed to show up as a gay man in the world, right? Or how am I supposed to show up as this and this in the world, right? It's and there's no right or wrong way to do it. I think a lot of people are afraid that they're going to maybe like give themselves the wrong label and then they can't ever change that, or they'll get stuck in something, or like and that's not true. I mean, it's every single one of my mantras that I wake up to that I have written on a Post-it is that there's no right way to do today. It's never happened before. So I think that also applies to every single step of your queer journey. You know, it's constantly up for interpretation.
That's really brilliant, because that's not just for if you're gay, it's also if you're depressed, you're going through a hard time, or I never thought about like the pressure we put on ourselves to what we have to do today and how we have to have our day and who we have to be today.
Yeah.
And I love that mantra. I'm totally putting that in needlepoint. I don't even know how to do needlepoint, but I'm going to learn.
Yeah, you can put on a t-shirt.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll start with the t-shirt first. Yeah, it's much easier.
Yeah, so much of my work is based in mindfulness, which is just that idea of stepping back. And like, for example, you mentioned someone who's depressed, right? The person who's depressed is not a depressed person. It's a person who is aware that they're depressed. So just by the very fact that they're aware of the fact that they're depressed means that they are the awareness of the depression and not the depression, which means that they officially
you just blew my mind. I got to go lay down.
You're so good at this.
I got to lay down after that one.
That officially creates an immediate distance between them and this thing that is this problem in their life, right? So it's and it's not to say that depression isn't real and it's not something that needs to be dealt with. It just means that it's not the totality of who you are. You know what I mean?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Even though in the moment it does feel like it.
Right.
How much longer after School of Rock did you come out?
I didn't come out to my senior year of college, which is coincidentally the time I started interning at PLJ.
Really?
I didn't realize that. So wait a second. So prior to that, did you not acknowledge it to yourself, or were you secretly dating boys but not telling anybody?
No, I was in so much denial. So it was just, think about it. I mean, when I was in the 5th grade, this movie came out and I got called gay, and then someone told me that that's not cool. So I just was like, oh, okay, I'm not gay. And then that message came to me so often that my denial had to come so often. And so I was denying it before I even got notion of the idea of what it was. So by the time I realized I was potentially gay, I was already homophobic towards myself, essentially. And so, and then in college, I met a ton of like gay people, you know, and I was like, this is awesome and they're great, but it still wasn't an option for me, you know, like I was so far in denial that like, which I think that's one of the reasons I got into life coaching in my older age a little bit too, is because like, it's just so fascinating to me how the mind works and how it locks into these different conditioning and like behavior patterns just because of one thing you told yourself, 14 years ago, you know what I mean? It's like, it's really crazy.
Well, no, but it's not just 14 years ago. It's during a time that your brain was still developing.
Right.
And the things you told yourself really matter because that your brain is forming and your identity is forming. And those are the years that it's happening. So what you're telling yourself during that time sticks.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, to this day, even there's moments every day where I doubt myself, I question myself. And that's because of things I told myself when I was younger, right? So it's a matter of,
honey, that's all of us.
Yeah, right.
Were you dating anybody in high school and college?
No. I had a couple, I mean, I guess if we're going to go there, I had a couple of experiences in college that we're just kind of like, you know, a drunk girl at a college party who kisses like a girl, and then she's like, "Oh, I was just fooling around." It was just categorized enough where I was like, "Well, that doesn't mean I'm gay," you know.
Right.
It was enough still to avoid the label, you know.
Wait,
and then
I kissed more gay men than you did in college.
and yes, you did. And then senior year, I fell in love with a guy who also worked at PLJ.
Ooh.
And
what's it, Scott?
Is that why he left?
Did you scare Scott away?
And I was just so in love with him that we came out together.
Was he out?
No, we came out together.
Oh, so he also wasn't out.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, who was it?
But this is not the place for that, Cooper.
Oh, okay. Good point. Yeah, okay. When I see you privately, you'll tell me. Oh, I love that. That's so great.
Yeah.
Oh, that's really nice that you guys had that experience together. You know, that's no, I think that's important because I think it's tough when somebody else has been out their entire lives. Like, I mean, you know, most of my friends are like, I have a couple of friends that went through that, like they pretended to like women. And I have one friend that was even like dating a woman for a long time before he was finally like, I'm not into this. But yeah, I mean, I think it's hard when somebody has known who they are their whole lives and they're with somebody that is just finally, you know, it's a different level. So it's nice that the two of you were kind of like at the same time being like, I think I'm gay. Me too. Awesome.
Yeah. It was actually, I mean, if we're giving all the information, it was actually on a PLJ promotions appearance that we sort of like confessed that we liked each other.
And I love him. I know who it is and I love him. Oh my God. I'm so happy to hear. I'm so happy because I was always like, I hope he finds somebody. And I guess he did.
Well, we're not together anymore.
Oh yeah. But I mean, even at the time, you know, even at the time.
Bring up that wound. Thanks, Cooper.
Yeah.
Well, also you were young. I mean, look, I'm not with the first person I was with either.
Oh, so, right. Yeah.
You know,
we were.
I'm not even with the 20th person I was with.
That person isn't even alive anymore.
Yeah. I mean, I don't want to speak for him, but I was so lost. I had no idea who the hell I was. And the relationship was very much just finding each other in the other person. And that never lasts very long. I feel like it was not too, in my opinion, it was not too like sustainable individuals working to make a sustainable relationship. It was very like, you know, we were finding each other together. It was very, you know what I mean?
Right. But you're also super young. So I think that's
right. Exactly.
Even if you've been out since you were 5, I mean, at that age, I don't expect you to, you know, it's rare that you'd still be with that person all these years later. That would just be weird.
Yeah.
No, that's pretty cool. So there's something in the news today that I wanted to ask you about because just it's sort of like one of those life coach kind of questions. And I just, you know, and also it's very like your generation. So do you think that when you say to somebody who just lost a lot of weight, oh my God, you look amazing, is that fat phobic?
That's so funny that you say that. I just had a show Sunday night, and after the show, someone told me you lost so much weight, and I've actually I'm trying to train myself to stop saying thank you to that because I don't know. I don't know the answer like on a cultural standpoint if that's fat phobic. I don't think I follow the trends enough to know where we're at with that. But I personally think that so much of body image is learned through societal norms and like things that we're taught over the years, and it's literally just stuff that was invented to sell stuff. It's not real. It's just a definition of beauty that was manufactured basically to make people feel bad about themselves so that they would invest in products or services. And so
it worked because we still do it. I mean, like I think about like a good example is like you look at Lizzo and Lizzo's like, I look like this. And I mean, her Instagram handle is Lizzo Be Eaten. So, I mean, she's embracing like, this is my size. This is what I look like. And, you know, screw you all. And people that, you know, all her haters, she's just like, oh, yes, I'm so sad in my multi-million-dollar house, you know, but then you get like Rebel Wilson, who just lost 60 pounds and Adele, who lost all this weight. Everyone's like, oh, my God, they look amazing. Have you seen them? It's like, wait a second. I thought we're embracing Lizzo. And then we're also praising Rebel Wilson and Adele. So which is it? Like,
Well,
and I think that's where it becomes confusing. And that's why today the conversation is it's fat phobic to say to somebody, oh, you lost a lot of weight. You look great.
Yeah. It was an awkward moment when that guy said that to me because I just kind of looked back at him and I was like, I smiled and I was just like, because I'm trying not to say thank you. And I guess I haven't figured out what I'll say in place of thank you, And so it's like, yeah, it is very, and like the science supports the Lizzo argument even more than it does the Adele Rebel Wilson argument, like to an extent, like there like the BMI, for example, is completely made up. It's not actually based in science. And there's people who are rated as overweight on the BMI scale often live longer, healthier lives than those that are of the standards that the BMI sets, right? So it's all just, it's not even based in science. It's very frustrating, really. And so at this point, I do agree with a standpoint like Lizzo, where it's like your body is your body. Like, what if your body was just as beautiful as the day when you like came out of the womb and everyone was like, oh my gosh, it's so beautiful and nothing ever changed, like what if
my original weight of 6 pounds 4 ounces, like what if I got down to that, my original weight?
No, but like nothing's changed. Nothing's changed about who we are from that moment of birth till now, other than what we've been taught we should be. You know what I mean?
Right. Yes.
No, a lot has changed. 64 bags of Twinkies has changed from the time I was born until now.
Yeah, it's true. And I'm glad you said what you said about the BMI thing, because the pandemic has not been kind to my ass. So I'm really happy to hear you say that about the BMI.
I can't see your ass, but I'm sure it's fantastic, Cooper.
Well, thank you.
No, it's a lot lower than the last time you saw it.
It's a different place. Yeah. It's true. So tell us a little about, before we let you go, tell us about this film that you have at the LGBTQ plus film festival in LA.
Yeah. People are not going to coach with me.
Why? Why?
I had another terrible breakup experience where I basically, as a therapeutic way of attempting to get over that, I sort of just wrote down sort of our breakup moment into a scene. Primarily just for my acting class to work on, because I had always wanted to like attempt writing my own material. And then I don't know, everyone was in class was like, this is great, you should like record this. And I was like, oh, okay. I was like, thanks, more work. And then so I did, I recorded it and I was just like, I'll submit it some places. And yeah, we just won, me and my co-actor both won Best Performance Awards for the film. And I'm currently in talks with some streaming companies to see if it can go on there. So it's very exciting. It was but yeah, it's a film called Nosebleed. It's literally just a scene, essentially. It's a breakup scene. It's a short film. Yeah, I was really happy with the feedback.
Congratulations. That's amazing. I think you should spin it like, I don't tolerate relationships that I'm not happy in. If the relationship doesn't work and it's toxic, I'm good at getting out of it. Like, I think that's the bigger message, instead of being like, another breakup. No, I think breakups are good things, because if you stay in a bad relationship, then I would be concerned about you.
That's so true. Yeah.
Yeah. The fact that to move on, and Anthony teases me all the time because I've been through so many relationships, but it's mostly because I've been through some bad ones, and I was I knew to get out of them. So
yeah, no, I mean, I learned every bit of healthy relationship that I have with myself has been learned from those terrible relationships with other people.
Yeah.
So it's they caused me to sort of like question, like, what am I tolerating? Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Oh my God, Brian, thank you so much for doing our show. I love talking to you. I love seeing you again. I can't believe how long it's been. Put me on another group text so that way you and I can stay in touch.
a PLJ one?
The Great. PLJ group text, but leave off the person that that I don't want to talk to.
Okay, sounds good.
Yeah. And everybody check out Brian at Brian Falduto and at The Gay Life Coach on Instagram. Those are the best places to get in touch with him, because that's where I got in touch with him.
Yeah. And thank you so much for having me. It was nice to meet you, Anthony. It was so wonderful to see you.
Good to meet you.